Hi, this is Anna Horford, and you're listening to Horford Happy Hour. Hey guys, thanks for joining me on another episode of Horford Happy Hour. Today we are talking dating. So, best dates, worst dates, your experiences on dating apps. I reached out to my followers and asked you guys to submit your stories to horfordhappyhour@gmail.com, which is also where you can submit any episode ideas or anything that you want to hear from me. I'm completely open to new ideas and new topics for each week. So if you guys have anything you want to hear about, just hit me up at horfordhappyhour@gmail.com. And our guest this week is my sister Maria.
Hey guys, what's up?
And we are drinking Love Noir, which is a satiny red blend. And the description says, deep and rich in style, silky and smooth in taste. So this is our first time trying this wine, and we figured because it was a dating episode, we'd go with something that sounded kind of sexy and fun. And this is our first time trying it. And Maria, what do you think?
All right, hold on. Well, I had to take a few sips, and now I'm liking it more. The first sip was terrible. I don't know what happened there. But now I like it. Like, I probably wouldn't buy it again, but I'm going to drink it, so.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. Like you said, I think that a lot of it kind of depends on the vintage and whatnot, which is something that you've learned kind of recently, that, you know, the year the wine was made actually really matters as far as taste.
Yeah, we went to
De Parma. In Boston. It's a really good Italian spot.
So good.
And Al loves it.
And you're allowed to bring your own booze.
Yeah, you go buy a bottle of wine.
I don't know if that's a thing there. Like,
I don't think all restaurants are like that, obviously.
Here
but
it's not.
Yeah. So Al went across the street to this liquor store, and this guy recommended this bottle of wine, and I can't even remember what it was called, but it was really, really great. Like, it was delicious. And so... and Amelia loved it, Al's wife, and so we wanted to get another bottle to take back to the house to drink. And when we tried the second bottle, it was so different than the first. Like, it was bad.
It was disgusting.
It wasn't even, it
we
tasted
didn't even
like
drink
rubbing alcohol. Like, none of us ended up drinking it, and it was because the vintages were different. So yeah, it does make a big difference. And I mean, I don't know, if you like dark red wines, it's not the worst. So
we decided out of 10, it's a 7.
Yeah, it's probably like a 7 out of 10 for sure. All right, so I want to get into this episode because I'm really excited. And like I said earlier, I asked you guys to send me some of your best and worst date experiences and anything with dating apps and whatnot. So I'm going to read a few stories that you guys sent me. I might cut them down a little short, but so the first one is from Hunter, and he said, so my dating story, I was 22, I met this girl off Tinder by sending her a long message that boiled down to, I would fight a bear in the woods with nothing but a trapper keeper from 5th grade to go on a date with you. And somehow she was interested, so I'm feeling myself. And I feel like that's interesting because, like, pickup lines are kind of everything, you know, like if a guy's too creepy, it'll ruin it, but if he's like funny, you know, that's a good thing. So Hunter, you started out well, and he said we agreed to go on a date in the city. I meet her at her apartment. He said, I'm not 5'9", so I'm sweating as I'm knocking on the door, hoping she's okay with going on a date with someone who isn't tall. She opens the door, and she's also 5'9", so I stiffen up my back to make myself a half-inch taller. So she drives us to this bar because I drove an hour to meet her in the city. And so they start drinking, and, you know, they're kind of getting into it. He said, I'm happy. And then someone walks in, and it ends up being her friend, Mitch. So another guy walks in. Yeah. He's 6 feet tall with a full beard and, quote, heavenly colored eyes. And so he sits with us, and she's like, hey, I hope you don't mind, but he wanted to go out tonight. So essentially she brought a date to our date, And this dude is like a chiseled warrior from 300.
Oh my God.
And I'm on my 6th attempt at a diet. He said, so we go to a nightclub and the following conversation between me and Mitch happens. Me, so you're from here. Mitch, so she drove you here, huh? Me, yeah, I live an hour away. So she said she'd drive. And Mitch said, but she drove you here. You didn't drive her? And he laughs and he said, yeah, dude, she drove. And then Mitch just smiles, just making sure you see those 2 girls over there. And Hunter said, yeah. He said, go talk to them. I'll take care of the girl that they were on a date with. He's like, I'll take care of her.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then, so he looks back, you know, Mitch is whispering sweet nothings in her ear. And so he said he ended up finding an empty spot in the middle of the bar, and he stood there alone for about an hour just scrolling through his phone. And finally his date, the girl, asks if he wants to leave, and he said he was more than happy to do so. And they got back to her apartment, and she asked if he could take her to the airport the next week and also pick her up. And he said
what the fuck?
Yeah, he said
that was the first time they ever met?
I mean, I think this is the first date, yeah. And so he said he was heated because he just spent an hour alone in a bar in a city.
Bitch.
And
what city?
That he doesn't know. I don't know. I don't think it's in here, you know. But he was like, yeah, he said yes to taking her to the airport because he said, you know, she was a girl and he was 22 and he was happy to do that.
He said yes?
Yeah, so he said...
Wait, what?
I know, so he said...
No.
So he said,
this girl was just such a bitch to him, and that was the first date, and he is going to take her. They don't even live near each other.
I know.
This is blowing my mind.
So he said, so I go home making plans to take this girl to the airport, but that's a story for another time. Oh man, Hunter, that is not cool. Not cool on your date's behalf, you know?
Yeah, but you also should be more confident in yourself. Because that girl, no. She's a bitch.
Yeah.
That was rude. Like,
so rude. Like, I would never do that to someone. Wouldn't you feel so bad?
Maybe we're missing, like, some details because it just seems like, why would she feel like, why is she okay with asking him to do that for her? Yeah. Why didn't she ask Hot Mitch? Like,
right, exactly. So, there is probably more to the story, but from what it sounds like, Hunter, there are plenty of other girls in the world that I'm sure would not do that to you. So I hope that you found someone else, and I hope you kept trying. So yeah, let's read another one. Mariah said, I had a friend use Bumble and go on a first date, and this guy started off the date by saying, so this is when I murder you, as soon as she got into the car.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he probably thought he was funny. That's not really funny.
I hate that kind of humor.
Yeah, and he got noticeably drunk off of 2 beers at dinner. He loudly sang When I Die Young by the band Perry at one point during dinner. And he also cried at dinner. And then she asked him to take her home, and he got upset when she didn't invite him inside. Okay, well, this...
He was singing If I Die Young.
Yeah, this guy seems like he might have some weird social issues. So,
and he was probably trying to loosen up with the alcohol, and then it went wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Did I say Tinder? Because I meant to say Bumble.
No, you said Bumble.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We'll talk about my experience with Bumble in a few minutes, but another one, let's see. Oh, this is another one where the girl totally hoed the guy. So this guy, Tyler, once met this girl on a dating app, and they planned to go to Froyo for their first date. And the day before, she got nervous about meeting, so she asked if her friend and her friend's boyfriend could join them. He said he didn't mind if that made her more comfortable. And the day of the date, she texted him and said that her friend's boyfriend was sick, so he couldn't make it, but asked if he minded if she still brought a friend with her to the date. And he said it wasn't an issue, so he headed out to meet her. And he got there, and she's with her friend. He gave her a quick hug, and they head right into the Froyo place, but she never introduced him to her friend who's on the date with them. we get in line. She tells me not to pay for her, so I agree. For the next hour or so, she and her friend ignored him and proceeded to sit and gossip about their sorority sisters back and forth. And after they were finished, the friend left without acknowledging him. So he was finally left alone on his date, quote unquote. And so he asked if she wanted to sit outside and talk at all. And she said, no, I'm pretty tired. I'm going to go hang out with my sister. Thanks for a fun first date. And then proceeded to leave. He said, I was essentially a third wheel on my first date. And the kicker is that she texted me the next day and said, I had such a great time on our date yesterday. We should go on a second date soon. I chose not to reply. Absolute worst date I've ever been on.
Oh my gosh, man. These girls are tripping.
Yeah, Tyler, I am so sorry about that. That is beyond rude, especially because it sounds like, you were a gentleman and you wanted to make sure she would be comfortable on her first date by having a friend there and whatnot. It sounded like you're really cool about that, which is good stuff. But yeah, she and her friend sound like, I don't know, a little like self-absorbed and
yeah, because what kind of friend is that? You should be going out with a wingman.
Totally. I
or a wingwoman.
I absolutely agree. Okay, so this next one is like, I laughed while I read it the first time. It is quite interesting. It seems like it's almost made up. But he said, I swear to God, this is 100% true. And this is from Ben. He said he met a girl on Plenty of Fish, and it was his first encounter with online dating after his divorce. She lived in a very remote part of Tennessee. But he had nothing to do that night. She seemed cool, so he drove to her house, and her house happened to be a dilapidated trailer, which he said it's fine if you live in a trailer, but it was so overgrown and unwashed that the mold had actually turned orange. Ooh. So she came out of the trailer and was 75 pounds or more heavier than her picture, which again, he said, big girls are very sexy, but please show an accurate picture.
Right.
He said, anyway, I asked her where I could take her to dinner since we were in her small town, and she, no joke, demanded McDonald's, and it was McDonald's attached to a gas station.
Oh, God.
And he said in all caps, demanded it. So that was her spot. That's where she wanted to go. And he tried to salvage it by saying, oh, okay, maybe we can have a picnic. So I asked her where to eat. She said, we can go to the river and skip rocks. He said, thanks, Tom Sawyer. But to the river we went and started to skip rocks while eating our cheeseburgers. It was here that I noticed two conversational tics from her. A, she was very fond of talking about the guys she had slept with, naming upwards of 20 in a short conversation.
No way.
And B, she made very liberal use of the dreaded C word.
Oh my gosh.
And he said, figuring that this wasn't going to be the classy lady I would bring home to mom, I said something about having a long commute home, offered to drive her home, and they got in her car, and it was here that she mentioned something about her babysitter, and this said babysitter happened to be her children's father, who had apparently sold his plasma for the $40 Greyhound bus ride from Missouri to Tennessee because he still loved her. So I figured I'd drop her off and make a clean break. I thought wrong.
Oh, God.
He said waiting in her front yard was a visibly drunk man. I say visibly drunk because he was kind of doing that Axl Rose dance where you can't really prop yourself up and you're swaying back and forth. And through the windows, I could audibly hear him yelling something about, bitch, I done already called the cops on you for abandoning your kids. In response, she made a beeline out of the car, ran towards him, and punched him in the face. He responded by punching her in the face, and it developed into a hockey fight in the middle of the street in the front of a trailer. I came to the realization that I should probably leave, so I put the car in reverse, and wouldn't you know it, I was correct because the second I backed out, a bunch of cop cars descended upon the trailer, blocking my car in.
No.
Cops got out, broke up the fight, let them go. They started fighting again, rinse, repeat. After about 10 minutes of this, I realized that I simply had to get the hell out of there. So I sheepishly got out of my car, went up to one of the cops, told them that I was on a first date and that there would not be a second date and that I lived an hour away and wanted to just go home if they didn't have any questions for me. The cops laughed their asses off, moved their car and left, and he never heard from her again.
Holy
Ben.
Oh my God. What a night.
That is a doozy.
What a night.
But also a fantastic story.
Oh my God. Like when you said, they went to McDonald's, that's where I thought the bad part was. And then it just kept getting worse.
It kept getting worse, yeah. And oh my gosh, when I first read that one, I was just dying because it's just you couldn't even make up a worse first date. And then you think oh, she got out of the car and she punched him. You're okay, that must have ended it. And then it's no, he punched her back. It's oh no. And that's actually not funny. Domestic violence is not funny, but it just sounds like something out of a movie.
Out of fucking Jerry Springer.
Yeah, or Jerry Springer. So yeah, that's interesting. Maybe, and all these people or at least a couple of them have met people on dating apps, which is, not ideal for some people and some situations. I feel it works out maybe 10% of the time. Dating apps are so, I just feel they're obviously just hookup apps for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that people need to get back into just going up and talking to someone you see in a coffee shop or wherever you like to fucking hang out. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're all just too sucked into our phones.
Definitely. So apparently my friend Jenny went on a first date and she wasn't very excited for it. And the date came to her house before the date even was supposed to start, I guess, and helped her stepmom find her cat at the time to take her to the pound. And why would you do that? It's a first date. Oh, I helped your stepmom find your cat so we could put it down.
The mom probably asked. That's totally something mom would do. She'd be my cat ran away. Can you help me?
Never to put it down, though.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, what?
That's what I said.
The wine's getting to me, but why were they putting the cat down?
I don't know. I think maybe because it was old, but, without Jenny's approval, then that's just kind of shitty.
Okay, keep going.
Okay. And then, so let's see. Oh, this is a nice one. Mully on Twitter said his girlfriend had never been to an NBA game, so he took her to see the Celtics. Great choice. And she loved it. And apparently she laughs at him when he gets nervous or hyped watching on TV. But they had fun, and she wasn't constantly on her phone and asked a lot of good questions and tried to learn about the players. I think that's cute. That sounds like a pretty chill first date.
That.
I would get annoyed being on a date at a game because I want to watch the game. I don't really want to talk to people. So I don't know if a date would be the best.
That's not a good first date, but definitely after you get to know each other, yeah.
Yeah, a good date in general. Chrissy said, I got matched up with my ex-husband's identical twin brother on a dating app. And that's when I knew it was time for me to cancel my subscription.
Oh, God.
Yikes. And so another one from Twitter, Amanda said, horrible date. I was set up by my friends, met him at her house for a double date. Right off the bat, he insulted my parking skills for avoiding her dog, apparently, and called me a typical woman driver. He insulted me all dinner long, was disgusting as a human, got pissed when I wouldn't let him take me into his car and fill me up, called me a frigid bitch, and I left and I never saw him or those friends again. That is every woman's worst nightmare.
Yeah, you should see my face right now. I'm just feeling really bad for her.
Yeah, that is not cool. What an asshole. And a lot of guys, I was just talking about toxic masculinity on Twitter today because the shooter from Santa Fe had gotten turned down by a girl that he, was interested in, and she was one of the ones that he killed that day, murdered her because she said no to his advances. And someone had said that it was a bunch of feminist bullshit, that I had liked that tweet, in support of calling out toxic masculinity. But honestly, it is everywhere. It's not just school shooters. It's not just from movies or anything. This shit really does happen All I'm saying is like respect goes a really long way. And if you don't want to do like my ex, when we started dating, he always held my door open for me on my car, closed it after me, paid for meals, but I tried to split it. You try to split it 50-50, but would pay for my friends when we were out. Like, just respect and kindness goes a long way. Like, just don't be an entitled douche. And just because you buy a girl dinner or take her out, she doesn't owe you anything. She doesn't owe you sex.
Exactly. And if a girl says no,
then that means no.
Yeah.
And even
you don't have to keep trying.
Yeah, exactly. And I think more guys are starting to get the message, but it's just something that people didn't really talk about as much. But so if a girl is weary or nervous about a first date, I mean, that's why. And she's probably had a bad experience with a guy. So try to be understanding if you're a guy. And then I did have one more email that I wanted to read, and it was from someone who kind of asked for advice.
Okay.
And so he said, so me and this dreamy girl went to go on a date to see Deadpool 2. It started well, and the movie, was good. They couldn't decide what to do. So they ended up going to get tacos and talking for a couple hours. And he said, I swore as the night went on, she got more and more uninterested in me. And the night before we had gone out, and I thought we might have had a spark or something. But after last night, I just don't know. So right before they decided to leave, they didn't know what to do or go home. So eventually they decided to go home. He said, this is where I fucked up. As we're leaving, I tell her, want to go somewhere and make out? He said, why? I don't know why. Yeah, he had asked that and said he just wanted to kiss her, and that it didn't happen. And he feels like he was too pushy and rightfully ruined any chance he had with the girl. And she's leaving for a month to study abroad on Wednesday. And he had gotten home and kind of made things a little bit worse, he thought, by asking her out for the following night before she leaves. And, he said he thinks he ruined his chances because he's terrible at being smooth, and just kind of wanted some general advice. And, I mean, I think...
I kind of want to know how the dinner, what made him...
They went to a movie. They went to Deadpool, and then they went and got tacos and talked.
Yeah, and then he said...
She was getting uninterested.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, why, though? Why did he think that? Because maybe she wasn't, but he just is paranoid.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people just are overthinking things. And then she's also going away for a month. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe she just doesn't want to commit before a trip.
Yeah.
But one big thing with guys that I think is important, or, women, whoever you're interested in, is confidence. Confidence is sexy. So be confident. But here's the thing, don't be cocky.
Right.
Don't be douchey, don't be full of yourself, but be confident. And, making people laugh is awesome, and it's something that I think a lot of people value. And also, like we said earlier, respect and kindness. And if you just be yourself, don't try too hard. Don't worry about what you're gonna say.
Be yourself.
Just
and
go
if
with the
that
flow.
Person doesn't like you, then that's not the person for you.
Yeah, there are 7 billion people in the world. You're gonna find someone.
Some of them are taken and some of them are gay, but you'll find someone.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't know sexual preferences, so there's a large spectrum for. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So yeah, just keep trying. And you, I mean, I think it's awesome that you kind of acknowledge that maybe you were a little bit too pushy. So maybe just back off a little bit and try to reconnect when she comes back. And if not, then, I'm sure that there are other women out there who would be happy to date you. So
I'd like to take a minute to talk to you guys about Sunbasket. If you're on the hunt for healthy eating, never mind the latest fad diet or whatever your favorite celebrity isn't eating today, and check out Sunbasket. Sunbasket makes it easy and convenient to cook healthy, delicious meals at home, no matter how much experience you have in the kitchen. And now you get more options than ever. Just go to the Sunbasket app and pick from 18 weekly recipes. Easily cooked dishes like Thai turkey lettuce cups or lemon pepper salmon. And there are paleo, gluten-free, lean and clean, vegan, Mediterranean, family options, and more. Sunbasket works with the best farmers and suppliers to bring you fresh, organic produce and responsibly raised meats and seafood. Each recipe features organic produce and clean ingredients and tastes like a restaurant dinner on a fancy night out. And the best part? It's quick and easy. With Sunbasket, everything's delivered with 30-minute recipes, ready to whip up anytime. No grocery shopping required. There's something for every healthy journey and every busy lifestyle. Go to sunbasket.com/HHH today to learn more and to get $35 off your first order. That's sunbasket.com/HHH for $35 off. sunbasket.com/HHH.
So yeah, another thing that I wanted to discuss was how long do you think it's okay or acceptable to stalk your ex on social media? Because people do it all the time, every day.
Wait, how long?
How long after you break up? How long should you still be like checking in on them? And I honestly, because I'm out of a long-term relationship, and I mean, and you just, it's not even like stalking, you just kind of check in from time to time, like see what they're doing or who they're hanging out with, just because you're curious or you miss them or whatever. I don't think there's any shame in that. I don't think you should take it too far, obviously, but I kind of think maybe like the first couple months after you break up, but if you're doing it longer than that, then maybe there's some deeper issues you might need to resolve.
Yeah, I don't have advice in that department.
And speaking of social media, I mean, this is a little bit different, but apps like Bumble and stuff, I was curious, guys, because I am single right now and I've been having a hard time meeting people out. And so I got a Bumble just for fun. And because I wanted to see what it was about, and I wanted to just kind of scroll through and check people out. And so, yeah, I got a Bumble, and I was very disappointed with the selection because for me, I mean, pretty much if you're nice and you're tall and you're well-spoken and just a kind, funny person. Yeah, you gotta be cute too. I'm not gonna lie. You gotta be cute. I'm 6 feet tall, so you have to be taller than me because I like to wear heels. But so yeah, the height thing is a big factor for me. Also, just it was interesting because the choices that I had were either like super country or super like kind of ghetto, and I'm not really into either of those ends of the spectrum. Everyone is different. Obviously, I like to think that I'm pretty open-minded about things. So I just wasn't feeling any of those guys. I just felt like the selection was kind of lame. And then also they didn't have a lot in their profile, so I didn't know a lot about them. And I feel like if you don't have a lot in your profile, that just means you want to fuck.
You're definitely trying to just fuck.
Yeah, that's it. So not a huge fan of Bumble, which is the only dating app I've ever tried. And I'm probably going to delete it like right after this. So yeah, and just dating in general is so difficult. And you know, you gotta like, if you meet someone and you do end up wanting to like hook up with them, like how do you even, I was in a relationship for so long that I don't even know how to like initiate the awkward, are you clean talk, or, you know, a lot of people nowadays, apparently, that from what I hear from my girlfriends who like to go out and explore and whatnot. You know, a lot of people aren't into like using condoms and stuff. And I don't know when that became a thing, especially when so many people, you know, have like STDs and stuff. That makes me really nervous. And I have to, you know, like I feel like what if you met someone who, you know, had an STD and you really liked them, but you didn't have one, and like then you had to, you know, you'd have to like figure it out.
The whole "are you clean" talk, that needs to seriously become a norm. Like guys, girls, everyone needs to start being more comfortable with asking each other that. Like, and people, especially guys, need to start getting tested more.
Yeah. Testing is definitely important. And, you know, I was with, you know, the same guy for a long time, and I still got tested.
Even if you don't have symptoms.
Yeah.
You should just don't do it if you're, you know, if you're sexually active.
Right. And, you know, people lie about it a lot, which is not cool. And it's actually illegal to lie and not tell someone if you know that you have, you know, an STI or whatever. And so that's something that I think more people obviously need to do. And the other thing about meeting people and hooking up is, you know, I don't think sex is anything that people should be ashamed of. It's natural, and, you know, that's what we were created to do. We're created to procreate. And
it fucking feels good.
Yeah, it's great. And that's the other thing is, how do you know that the sex is going to be good when you know, meet someone? And also, like, you know, some people are a little awkward when it comes to sex and whatnot. And that's my biggest thing is, like, I would hate to, like, waste a night with someone who is just shitty in bed.
Taco, yeah.
Yeah. You just never know what you're going to get.
I get it.
So, and yeah. And then a couple of random thoughts that I had about just like people in general. And do you ever just like see a couple and like you picture them having sex?
Okay. If anyone says no, they're lying.
Yeah.
Like, I've done it, yeah.
I don't think I do it all the time. I think I'm more likely to do it if it's a super hot couple or a super not hot couple. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Because it makes you more curious.
Yeah, like...
And you're like, oh,
sometimes
I wonder...
you just look at couples and you're like, there's no way you guys do it.
Yeah. Like, because the dynamics are so different. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. And another random thought that I had throughout the day trying to prepare for this episode was, like, isn't it weird to think that you shake hands with people all the time and those hands have been used for masturbation?
Really, girl?
Like, no, think about it. It's just funny to think about. Like, okay, so picture like meeting, you know, one of your parents' friends or whatever, and they shake your hand. It's like, oh man, his hand was probably on his dick at some point this week.
I've never thought about that, but I picture people naked a lot.
You do?
Like, yeah.
Oh,
especially if I'm, like, you know.
I never picture people naked. You must be really just fascinated by humans. Like, you stare at girls' butts a lot.
And boobs.
And boobs. I mean, boobs are amazing, so I don't blame you.
Bulges.
And butts are. Oh my god. Maria's had too much red wine. I am cutting her off because she's talking about staring at bulges, men's bulges. And yeah, so speaking of bulges, what have you ever seen like a non-existent bulge?
No, you're the only one.
Yeah. So guys.
No, I'm just kidding. You're not the only one.
Yeah, I went on a date with this guy. I went on a few dates with this guy. And he was really great, really nice, really intelligent, really articulate. And I kind of like got like a weird vibe, you know, making out or whatever. And you're kind of supposed to like feel something. And I absolutely didn't feel anything.
Oh,
and
God.
It turns out like the guy had a micro penis. And
they are real.
They're real.
I've never seen
one. And I saw one and I felt really bad. Like so small that it was too small for a condom. So we didn't like end up having sex or anything.
Smaller than like a baby carrot?
It's like probably the size of a thumb.
Saw a baby carrot.
Kinda, yeah.
And like a little thicker than a baby carrot.
It was like, you could have jacked it off with 2 fingers probably.
Wait, how thick was it?
I don't know. Probably like maybe like a thumb and a half thick.
Oh my Lanta.
Yeah. So you just like, you never know what you're going to get in the dating world. And I feel like, you know, there are bad. And you feel bad because it's like, you can't, that guy can't control that. And I tried to be like as sweet as possible about it and stuff. And
he should just have a strap on ready, like.
Oh man,
I know.
That is so emasculating.
I know, but like, at least if you can do something good with that, you might be able to keep a girl. Like,
well, also hands and mouths are very important too.
Yeah.
You know, when hooking up, I think a lot of guys kind of underrate that, and you really shouldn't because it turns a girl on when you are really into what you're doing, and you know. If you're an openly sexual person as a guy, it probably turns you on to make a girl feel good. So yeah, just, I don't know, pay attention to your partner. And if you ever run into a situation like I did, try and be polite and let them down kind of gently. And you know, when you're in that situation, you don't really know how to handle it. I feel like I did the best that I could, but it was an awkward situation. And it had been, you know, quite a few dates and whatnot. And So yeah, it was a little hard letting him down. So, and yeah, have you ever had any horrible experiences that you want to discuss?
Not horrible, but my first date with Cam, we went to Common Ground, which is like a mini music festival in Lansing or whatever. And it was going to be so fun. Like, we were so ready. I think we were like 18, so we couldn't drink yet, but of course. So they give you like the underage people wristband on one arm and the 21 and older on a different arm. And my dumbass, like, someone bought us a beer, and I drank the beer with the under 21 wristband. So I got caught, got us kicked out, like, right before the person we went to see got on stage, and, like, oh my God, we had to watch from, like, outside the fence.
But you didn't get in trouble.
We didn't get in trouble.
Didn't the cop know Dad or something?
I don't know. I think they just use our last name because they were like, oh, like, you're a Horford. Like, oh, your parents are going to be disappointed in you. Like, fuck you. You don't know my parents.
You don't know my life. Dude, it's so funny that you said you got in trouble with the police on your first date, because my first date with my ex, who is also named Cam, I know it's weird, we got pulled over because he was trying to be cool and he was, like, kind of swerving a little bit in the car. And so we got pulled over, and the guy asked for my license too, even though Cam was driving, and he saw, you know, our last name or whatever, and he just asked me a bunch of questions about Al, and he was super excited about, like, I think it was, like, right around the playoffs, and he was like, tell your brother I said good luck. He's like, you guys can just go. And, you know, Cam kind of turned and looked at me and was like, that's just not fair. And I was like, people are stupid. They place value on shallow things like that.
Yeah, so I have gotten out of a ticket because of that too, but only once.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it's happened to a few people in our family or whatever. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting that both of our first dates involved police, which... it's funny. And yeah, I don't know. I asked our mom if she had any funny dating experiences, and she said no. But I remembered one from, like, our parents are divorced. So not too long after they divorced, our mom started dating this guy named Paul. And I was in the car with my dad, and he was, like, kind of jealous. And he was like, so what is this I hear about your mom dating someone? Like, what's this guy's name? And I wasn't going to give him his real name because my dad probably would have found him. But so we were just driving down the road, and I was like, I just blurted out a name. I was like, Bob. And he goes, oh, Bob, huh? Okay. He's like, what's Bob's last name? And we were driving by a funeral home that's called Palmer, Bush, and Jensen Funeral Home. And he's like, so what's his last name? And I look at the sign, I was like, Jensen. And he's like, oh, Bob Jensen, huh? And, like, calls our mom and asks her about Bob Jensen. Bob Jensen. And mom was like, Tito, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I don't know anyone named Bob Jensen. And then I had to tell mom quickly, like, I made that up, you know, so dad didn't know that you were seeing someone else or whatever. And, you know, just that kind of, like, ex-lover jealousy, nothing too serious or anything, but I thought that was funny. So yeah, that was my random, well, there have been a few random stories. Anything else you want to add about dating? We heard some really interesting stories. My favorite one was the McDonald's date that ended up, like, with a WrestleMania in the front yard and the police.
Those are some good ones.
Yeah, so know your worth, guy or girl, know your worth, and take your time. Lots of people in the world, and just don't settle. But always try to be kind to people, especially, you know, when they're kind to you. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you want to go out and try Love Noir,
don't do it.
Maria says don't do it. 7 out of 10. So yeah. And don't forget to subscribe to my podcast. And it's also available on iTunes, Stitcher, and the CLNS Media Network. And I will talk to you guys again next week.